Where did they learn that? They learned that in medical school. And who funds that medical school? You see what I'm saying? You follow the chain. So all this data is out there. There's some cardio docs, and this is something, again, naturopaths have known this, have been saying this for a long time, and we get like, shooed out of, the fancy pants, anti-aging and medical doctor communities because we're saying stuff like this, but now all the data's there. Cholesterol, you need cholesterol. Eating light. This goes into eating raw food and deriving energy from other sources other than the food. The body's actually deriving energy from light. There's actually, in this guy, Dr. Fritz Albert Popp, just jot that name down. It's interesting. He does this stuff on biophoton coherence, and he measures the biophotons, which is light being emitted from different systems, and how we assimilate that. It's really interesting. You're eating light, okay? Subtle digestion. We kind of have got into this a little bit, but it sort of goes with the food is the mood. Just like the food that we eat, our mental impressions, our emotional impressions, spiritual ideas, day-to-day life happenings, circumstances, situations, all of that stuff has to be digested. There's a level of digestion, mental, emotional, spiritual digestion that has to happen there. And if we're really going to look at this holistically and look at this and we're going to grow versus age, because if you grow and you have stuff happen and stuff happen and stuff happen and you don't process it, then it's eventually going to come out in the physical system. And it's definitely going to be coming out in the mood. You're going to see it. Somebody's going to be carrying away, little kid, they're going to be grumpy and have this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's going to come out in some way if it's undigested. And this is what I do with some of my patients. It's what meditation does. It's what some of the newer therapies that I'm using with sound and other technologies help to rapidly process some of that stuff, because we have to. But we naturally do it. You take time to process things. So again, just a cognition to have that there is this subtle digestion that's going on, and it's really, really important. Okay, now we're back into we're back into minerals, and this is where I want to pick up with minerals. This is a huge deal. I don't know if I would say that. If I had only a few things to choose to do with people, I would make sure that they're on minerals. I would make sure that they're on minerals because they're super cheap and it's an easy sort of thing to bring on board, and the effects that they have are so far-reaching, okay? From genetic defects. A lot of genetic defects, they're not really genetic effects, they're mineral deficiencies that express as genetic effects. And a lot of this research has been done by a guy named Joel Wallach. They do a lot of research on different animal populations, and they noticed that certain fields that they analyze the soil content, and they know the mineral content in the soil. They know it's low in like zinc. And they'll see that animal population, they'll all start to express these genetic disorders. They supplement, they bring the zinc back on board, and all of a sudden these genetic things start to straighten out. You see, so that's a physiological thing. They're carrying information through the body. The minerals have the charge. It's a way that the body communicates. It's a way that the body, it's the way the nervous system works. It's the way muscles work. It's the way everything works in the body is having proper mineral status, because the minerals are kind of cofactors and they play different roles in the system. And if you have too much or too little, or it's all about the balance, things can go awry. Things can go awry. And diseases affect the mineral imbalance directly related to the food, a lot of times. But 5% of the body weight is pure mineral matter, okay? So minerals, ultra important, super, super important. This is where we're starting to get in, when you're talking about carrying energy in the body and carrying cosmic frequencies and actually being able to wake the mind up a little bit more. This is where we get into some yogi medicine. You're able to carry more light. Remember how I talked about ingesting light and eating light? Well, we've got to be able to assimilate that and move that around, and part of that is having a proper mineral status on board. So we can start to illuminate the system and really, really move from a base level of health and well-being into a higher level of that with this yogi medicine. And this is, it's part of what the natural lifestyles is. We're establishing the higher frequencies in the system. We're moving from a baseline sort of status quo, standard American kind of healthy, which is just the absence of disease. Health is not the absence of disease. Health is the individual radiant in his splendor, able to achieve the lofty goal of human existence. It's much more than just the absence of disease. It's an individual thriving and doing very well. That's what the yogi medicine. So these are the kinds of things that will help to move you along in that path. Things like haritaki. All of this whole list of herbs. This is just a nice list of herbs that actually serve to nourish some of the, they have physiological effects. They're going to detoxify and cleanse and nourish the body. They're also going to have other subtle effects, like haritaki is actually going to, it's going to enhance the body's ability to carry oxygen through the body. It's actually going to open up non-mechanical centers of the brain. Okay? So that it's great for the digestion. Okay? You see this connection with the digestion and the higher functioning of the man, the higher functioning of the body, right? Remember the silly story they told us all? We have these wonderful brains that took who knows how long to sort of, evolve and change and grow and just to really dial it in. But you only use 10% of it, so that other 90%, it's just like, They used to do this stuff. They go around and do lobotomies and stuff like this, like really totally crazy stuff. I mean, just think about that logically. It doesn't even make sense, right? So we have these other parts of our being, of our minds that store this whole other realm of possibility that's been switched off. Things like this will help to turn it back on. I love haritaki. I love all this stuff. And in our programs, I use this stuff. I start to roll this stuff in with people. So some of you guys have seen this stuff. You've seen some stuff before, right? It's like, hey, I've seen that stuff before, right? Yeah. So deriving our energy from the space around us, the breath actually is the remote control to your mind and your emotions. It actually builds muscle. It serves as a form of nourishment. Deep breathing, breathing properly. I mean, some of this stuff, it's like sounds so simple. It's like this guy's telling me to eat clean food, drink clean water, and breathe. Thanks. But hey, we need to be reminded of this stuff because it's so simple. It is so simple, but it's so powerful. There is no medicine that can do what the breath can do in under a minute. I can change your whole biochemistry, your whole blood chemistry. I can change it by instructing you on some simple breathing patterns and some things and guiding you through those. It will change, you will feel it instantly, and I could measure it instantly if I wanted to. What drug does that? How am I supposed to monetize that? How am I supposed to monetize you breathing? You know what I'm saying? Like, well, That's why they didn't tell you. It circulates. This is a diagram. The breath moves. There are different levels of anatomy. There is the anatomy that is the physical anatomy, which is the physical body, the organs, the tissues, the cellular structure, the organ systems. It's easy to go the other way. Cells, tissues, organs, and systems. And the circulatory systems, the nervous systems, right? We've all seen these kind of diagrams. There are other systems that are intermediaries, the energetic systems, the chakra system, the nadis, okay? The energetic anatomy, again, that's known in the yogic sciences and the Ayurvedic sciences for thousands of years. And so, not anything new here, nothing to see here, nothing new. But these are the interfaces. So you're feeding the prana into the nadis, into the energy centers of the body, and then the next interface is the glandular system and the nervous system. So here's your interface. There's your interface. And how do you do that? How do you access that? How do you get in there and consciously participate in that with the breath? I think I have a similar here. You start to activate the inner pharmacy. That is another thing that is happening here as we're moving along. The inner pharmacy. Inner pharmacy. We have molecules and potent things like cannabinoids and opioids and things that get you high and make you feel good. They're the original feel-good molecules, feel-good substances in the body that's wired in there. We have all that, and all of that can be activated. I don't need to go pick a drug up to do that. That's just what they told me all along. They didn't teach me this in school. They did not teach me this when I was a kid. They did not teach me this when I was adult. I just happened to have an affinity for this, and I went way down far in the rabbit hole, and I never came out. Okay? I'm still there. Deep breathing, right? So this is the inner pharmacy. We're activating the inner pharmacy. This is back to the roots. When I say back to the roots, back to your roots, and back to the roots, back to your roots, the inner pharmacy is part and parcel of what's happening here, okay? Sound is another tremendous medicine that we have. Probably one of the most powerful medicines that we have is the sound, okay? Because just like we talked about earlier, that the body is 75-80% water, given another view, you are actually mostly space. You are 99.99999% space. You're space, right? This is what the quantum sciences are telling us, right? And so what does that mean? Again, subtle nutrition. Sound is how we use this tool. These are my medicines nowadays. The breath and sound. I use remedies and natural things, right? But this is another level of medicine that is awesome. Okay, this is the future of medicine. You can do, and this again is not new, there is sound-based technology that the yogis and the Tibetans had for doing surgery, for opening the body up very precisely for a surgical procedure and then sealing it back, for levitating and moving large bodies of mass. You have to understand that it's mostly space, and using sound and properties of resonant frequencies, you can participate in what's happening there. Did you have a question?
Yes, I had a question about so environmentally disruptive sounds, horrible sounds that are, you wake up and lawnmower and chainsaw.
They're not natural.
So what does that do to our psyche, our self?
It slightly disorganizes the field. It slightly disorganizes the field, and that's where we have to have strong biofield, because again, along this line, I don't know if I really got into this, but Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi and the invisible things are big players here. The lawn guy and stuff, that's just like, is that guy done yet? Yeah. But it disrupts the things, but yeah, it definitely has an effect. There's a whole deep science in the yogic sciences and the Siddha sciences with this using sound-based technology, things like seed sounds, mantras as a technology, as a medicine. Again, has an effect on the body, on the physiology, on the mind, on the emotions, not only in it has a deep, deep effect. Okay, and this is one thing that I'm using actually as medicines in some of the things that I'm doing with some of my patients these days. And really about being established in the highest coherence, the highest frequencies. Okay, so the keys to longevity here is this kind of touching in on some of these things we've done. The mind and emotions influenced by food, and by food we now know we mean other things, not just food. When I say food, I mean all this stuff. This is food. Food. Okay? All these different things. So we start to just dial in. Now, one rapid shift way to reset and get back to your baseline, get you back to your natural state, to where you are in a high coherence, where you are, in a high frequency, and the side effect that is feeling good, pain-free, this kind of stuff, is through using fasting and detoxification. And this is one thing through some of the programs that I do with people, one way that we do that, and teach you how to take all of this out of this talking and put it into a system. Okay? Longevity becomes a side effect. What we've just gone through, and we've kind of reclassified or expanded what our ideas of food and nutrition is. And that's what I mean by spiritual nutrition. I mean full spectrum nutrition. Okay? So the longevity, it actually becomes a side effect of just the stuff that you're doing. Whereas in the beginning it might have been a goal, but now it becomes a side effect. And it becomes just practicing the natural lifestyle techniques. That becomes side effect. Unseen things, we were kind of touching on this. There's a lot of unseen things going on. And this here, again, we could be here for days and days and days. Unseen things that are going on. First, I gave you the remedy already. I started out this by giving the solutions, okay? Now I'm calling out just a little bit more of the problem, which some of it's come up along the way. I just put it all in a nutshell here. So know very clearly that you have the solutions to this in the preceding slides and the few that we're going to cover. But the unseen factors, these guys, things that are disrupting us, GMOs, vaccines, fluoride, radioactivity, geoengineering, chemtrails, chemical medicine, allopathic medicine, Monsanto, herbicides, pesticides, we kind of talked about those guys. EMFs, Wi-Fi, I put Common Core in there. The media, movies, mind control things. These things are all happening out there, and it's all like kind of out in the open. This is in plain sight, and it's really like weird actually. It's upside down world that we're in, but all of this stuff is going on, and it disrupts you. It disrupts you, and it's ultra tricky because you can't see it. You cannot see it. You cannot see fluoride. You cannot see that vaccine. You cannot see what's going on in there. Yes. MK, just jot it down. I want you to Google it and get in. It's essentially, there are various levels of mind control that have been going on, and social engineering programs that have been in place, again, for about 100 years. That Flexner report was when some of that started. And then after World War I and World War II, they really kicked it up. And a lot of the social engineering came in. And this is what has to do with what's true, what's not true, what's real, what's not real, what's science, what's not science. It's all of that kind of stuff is the result of programs like MK Ultra and PSYOP and mind control programs. Very real. All data's out there. Documents used to be classified. It's all open, okay? So this is really what you got to look out for. It's a side effect of this stuff, okay? The unseen factors there are going to, this is moving forward in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I don't know, 20 years is a long way. I don't know what the heck's going to happen. In the next few years, and even right now, this is what we got to look out for boredness and tiredom and stress. Because we're inundated with this stuff. We're tired. All our energy's been harvested. The only thing you can do is just make it and get through and get by and do the next thing. Why? Why is that? It's because all this invisible stuff's going on. So this is what we have to be vigilant against with the longevity and the anti-aging, because when this stuff sets in, then the physical body starts to take a downturn. Okay, so that's why this is important. The solution, how do you hit the reset button? How do I take all of this and put it together? Fasting and detoxification will put you on a fast track. No matter where you've come from, how long you've been living standard American, or how long you've been living clean, and you want to take yourself into the next level, whatever that is for you, you can do that. This is going to give a rest and a rejuvenation for every level, every cell, every tissue, organ, system of the body. You're going to be able to reset that. It's going to build the vital force and boost the body's curative power. The concentration, the creative thinking, the mood. It's been known and used for thousands of years as a technology, as a medicine, right? It's different what we think of medicine, but it's a medicine nonetheless. It's a system where if we can put things together and create a desired outcome of health, of getting rid of symptoms, right? And then we have the absence of the symptoms, and then the health comes. So it's a technology, and we can use that to rebuild the body. We can use it to rebuild the body. It's the best form of anti-aging that is out there, hands down, for sure, no question about it. Been used thousands of years. There's some interesting studies that have been done in the last 5-10 years about caloric restriction and different kinds of things like this, basically reducing consumption. If you reduce consumption, you'll feel better. Your body will heal. Because remember when we said you have 100 units of energy in the given day, and 75 of it has to go just digest the food, and then that other 25 units gets used for your energy, for the day, to rest, rebuild, repair, to build immunity, stuff like this. If you reduce that, all of that energy gets diverted and you can start to rebuild. And really, and this is a big deal because it influences the genes of the body. You start to activate and literally turn on youthing genes. This is what the whole genetic sciences teach us now. What we're seeing is that genetic science was a really ABC 1, 2, 3 really simple way of looking at things. It doesn't really work like that. It works based on the environment. And the genes are not set in a predetermined way to open up and express. They will change what they do depending on what's in the environment. And what's the environment? It's you. It's what are you putting into the system? What are you using to nourish the system? So we can regularly do this and wake up the inner doctor. And this is a real basis of naturopathic medicine, is activating the healer within. And the body has that. Everybody has that innate wisdom. I mean, the example is like cut your finger. What happens? Well, you bleed for a little while, then it clots up, and then it heals up. Did you have to tell it to do that? Did you know what I'm saying? It's a really simple example, but the same thing happens, okay? Here it is, the inner physician. So the inner physician, we have to activate it. It's their birthright to activate this. In the inner pharmacy, clean stomach is enough for the enlightenment. Clean stomach and neurotransmitters. We've kind of hit on all this stuff. I just think some of these two things are two of the good big clicks to have. Okay, so really and then the side effect here, the oneness. We're back to achieving the lofty goal of the human existence. Once you're symptom free and you're feeling a little bit better, you naturally will start to evolve and start to think about this stuff. And because you will start to feel it, you will start to, when you plug in and the inner physician activates and does its work, and the inner pharmacy activates and it does its work, you start feeling good. You start feeling more connected and dialed in and plugged in with yourself and the people around you. So you start to uplift. You start to align with that person that you want to be and the person that you're putting out there to be, okay? All this stuff starts to line up. So what do we do now? What to do? It's a lifestyle. It's a natural lifestyles. And what to do is you have the cognitive shift and you see this and you just start where you are. You be, real kind of clear with yourself and say, where am I now? Where can I start? So you can pick up one new thing. Maybe something through here, some click that you had or something we had. Any part of this, you pick it up and start to incorporate it. Okay, do it for 11 days. Just pick one thing and do it for 11 days and get it into your groove. Get it into your lifestyle. It will become your new normal. Each time you do that, you'll have a new set point. And if you do it for that 11 days, it resets a set point. So and then you roll something else in, okay? So this is in a nutshell. This is all my secrets. If you ever come to me as a patient, this is what's going on in the back of my mind, or sort of one of the things that's going on in the background. So just take a look at this one. This is totally golden. This is totally golden. You could start your own practice doing this if you're so inclined. Really, it's real basic. What do? You strengthen a vital force. You boost the vitality. You take out the trash. You get rid of the toxins. You nourish the body. You give the body what it needs. You potentize the cells using that full spectrum spiritual nutrition from the nutrients, the herbs, the sound, the intent, and the mental, emotional, spiritual revitalization. Just like we're talking about, you do things to digest those emotions. If there are traumas or incidents or things that are stuck, pinpoint those, clear them out, get them digested, put the pieces back together, and you keep going. That's pretty much everything right there. So this is what happens in the lifespan. This is what happens in the lifespan. We have, we talked about, I think I mentioned this is the first generation that the life has, this actual number has decreased. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it went down a few years, okay? So what's up with that? We have to rethink about what we're doing, what means life, what means one life, or you can have the same mind and take many bodies and be the same person and take many, many bodies. And that's sort of the old school definition of reincarnation, right? It's dated. You can do that. Same mind, many bodies. That means you take a body, have the same old problems. You take another body, have the same old problem. Another body, same old problem. Who knows how many times. Or you can come and sit in a room like this where if you're here, you're ready to hear what's going on, and you can get a new mental setup. You can get the upgrade. You can get the software upgrade. Boom, you got it. You have a new cognition and you kept the same body. So in a sense, it is a reincarnation. You evolved, okay? And so that's what we're talking about doing is that's what that upgrade is. Okay, so I promised you in the beginning I would give you what the top 5 anti-aging secrets are, and I'll keep my promise. Okay? This is it. Establish natural surroundings. Meditation is spending time in nature. We kind of talked about how these are therapeutic. These do have, I can measure you could do a blood draw and measure these things. They're therapeutic, stimulating the vital force and awakening the spiritual energies in the body. Okay, tidy up the diet, you give the body what it needs, you take out the garbage by fasting, detoxing, cleansing, using yogi herbs. Okay, just a different way of saying things. Yes?
Fasting, like 11 days, would that be practical? I mean, I'm sure, depending on what you're dealing with, it's different amounts of time.
It's, okay, different people are going to do different things, and this is kind of, remember in the beginning of this when I told you how I was going to tell you a way where you can take it to the next level, and that's kind of where we're at. So where are we going? That's sort of like what you're starting to think of, like, okay, great, now where do I go? And how shall I get there? How will I get there? What am I going to do? Well, I can make one irresistible offer here, and I'll do my best. Because that question always comes. I used to just give information, and then people would ask me this, well, Doc, what can I do? How do I like do it? Do I do 3 days, 11 days? What do you mean? So what I do, I've developed a system. And some of you guys know about this system. I have one person in this room that's done this, and this has been polished out. 2 people, 3 people. I have multiple people in here that have done this. And this has evolved over the last 5 years or so. I've experimented with stuff, and I guinea pig myself and Dr. Souther, we guinea pig ourselves and we do stuff, and then we come back and do it to you guys. So we test it out. I have a Detox with a Doctor's program, and it's an 11-day program, and it's how I take all of this, everything that we did, and I put it into a user-friendly format. It's an 11-day program. It's where I sit down with you, and I see, because if I sit down with Julie and I sit down with you, you're gonna have different stuff going on. So sit down, see what's going on, and then I thought, I've done this with small groups, and I'd like to do it with this group, and I want to see, I want to put it out there. I kind of want to float this and see how it goes. But you do an intro session on the front end. I meet with you, dial it in. Then we meet as a group, and I give you the download. How are we going to do this? What is the program? Okay. And then we check in. I actually check in with you, because there's transition points as you go through the 11 days. There's specific transition points and I meet with you. There are certain items, there's stuff that's not in here that is in, that does the things that are in here, but it's in part of what the cleansing kit is, meditation station guides. Worked on the book. This is a work in progress, but it's coming really nicely. And then there's emails and support that's going to come through, so it really kind of holds your hand as you go all the way through it. And once you do it one time, you get it. You get the download. You got it. You see what's going on. So actually what is happening, to say a fast or a detox, is a little bit of not entirely accurate, but I have to call it something. I have to have a name for it, right? So I call it a detox with the doctors, because are you going to detox, or are we